Hey everybody. How are you doing?
Good, Paul. How you doing?
Doing great. As you guys know, just finished up day two today. We had rounds uh 3 to 10. Exciting day. Um, Day two is always fast moving, can be in some ways more stressful than day one, just because of all the moving pieces and smaller um time slots between picks and all those things. But overall, excited about the players we were able to get. So I think maybe best thing to do is just kind of open it up to whatever questions you all might have. Thank you.
You took eight pitchers, right? Can you go into what was the reasoning behind that?
Yeah, thanks, Paul. We did 8 pitchers today, eight in a row. I think I would love to sit here and say it was 100% totally intentional. I think the reality is every draft is a little bit different. The strength of every draft can be a little bit different. I think probably coming into the day, we had the mindset to be um, opportunistic on, whatever the best players are available, and their fit into the organization. I think, as well as it might sound, I think it just happened to be a pitching heavy day today. So definitely not a plan or strategy, just sort of the way the chips fell this year for the guards.
Just with the third round pick, what did you guys like about Joey Oki?
Yeah, Joey, exciting, young, athletic, right-handed pitcher from Ankeny Centennial High School, just outside of Des Moines, Iowa. Really exciting. I think one of the more notable things about him is he's a two-sport athlete. If you get some time, you should watch some of his basketball highlights. He's pretty good on the hardwood. But the things that stand out about him. Really good size, really good athleticism. That's a fastball up to 98, and a wipeout slider to go with it. So really good sort of two pitch mix that's sort of now, but also you think about the youth and you think about the fact that he's always been sort of, going into baseball season, coming off of basketball season. So you think that once he can kind of focus on baseball only, he's got a great mindset, got a great support system around him. Really excited about what he's able to do and the shapes he can create with a baseball.
And Major is headed toward elbow surgery, or is that in the future, near future for him?
Yes, Aiden Major, right-handed pitcher at West Virginia University. Yeah, you're right, Paul. He will need Tommy John surgery here. We're going to partner with him to kind of work through that process. But when healthy and at his best, Aiden is a athletic, right-handed pitcher, um, sort of a deep four-pitch mix, fastball, big ride to his fastball up to 96, up to 97 miles an hour. Really good slider, cutter, and changeup. Another guy who can really manipulate the baseball. Really good competitor, I think. Toward the end of the year, and into the postseason, he was kind of pitching with um, with some injury there, but sort of competed and gutted his way through. So that kind of shows you the type of competitor he is. But we're going to partner with Aiden, get him healthy, and we're excited about adding him into the fold. Really good competitor.
Paul, high school pitching demographic, I know is a very risky one, and you were talking about how every draft is different, and you've got to kind of let things play out. But you guys walked away with three really highly thought of high school arms today, plus Braylon yesterday. If that even wasn't your intention, is it almost a point of you have to take who's available in the class and kind of just go with the best player on the board the way things unfold in that class, even as maybe as risky of a demographic as it might be?
Yeah, I think so. I think Good question. Good point, especially when you talk about, sort of like the quote unquote risky profile. I think um, all profiles, can be risky, no matter you talk about, college position players can be risky. I think when you think about the guys that we were able to bring into the organization, they have a lot of things that they do well already. Whether it be their ability to create spin, um, their athleticism, they can have really good foundational sort of components of their delivery. So I think you're right. I think there can be an element of sort of risk to a high school profile, especially when it comes to pitching. But at the same time, I think we've been able to, take some of those types of profiles and develop some really good young starting pitching prospects. Not only in the major leagues, but up and down our system too. So I think risk is sort of a relative term, if that makes sense.
Paul, what are the conversations like whenever you're looking at someone like Donovan Zac and you're looking at the upside that's there, but then also knowing the history of the two Tommy John surgeries in the past?
Yeah, great question. I think, Donovan, huge arm strength, right? Fastball up to 99 miles an hour. Excellent, sort of exciting, ability to miss bats. With someone like him, I think again, it's one of those things you want to make sure that you're doing everything you can to partner with that player. Knowing his history and knowing there's some sort of pathology there. But at the same time, I think when you talk about his size, his arm strength, his ability to sort of dominate a baseball, I think a really there's a certain point where you want to go ahead and partner with that player and do everything you can to make sure that he can stay healthy and stay on the field. So he's a guy that of course we know his history, but we feel really good about his talent and also the person. So feel feel really good about bringing him to the organization. Great question.
Sean Matson comes from a super athletic family where he may not even be the best athlete in his family. He was the Cape Cod reliever of the year, but mostly a starter. Do you guys know, are you gonna have him go out as a starter or reliever in the early going?
Yeah, I think the thing with good point on the family history and the bloodlines, really athletic family. Father was an athlete, mother was an athlete. Of course, his sister, impressive field hockey player and coach in her own right. So really impressive family bloodline all together, I guess you could say. But in terms of him and how we'll deploy him, I think he can do both, right? And I think that's the thing about him. He has deceptive delivery, deep mix of pitches. Will have the ability to start or relieve. So I think we really look forward to bringing him in and kind of working through that with him. We'll want to sit down, talk about his innings workload and all those types of conversations to figure out the best way to deploy him. But in terms of his sort of talent, ability, profile, he does a lot of things well. Sort of a well-rounded pitcher with excellent strike throwing ability, and when you have that as a building block, that's a really good place to start. Impressive family though, huh? Pretty cool.
Kind of the same question then on Rafe Schlesinger and Aiden Major. So Schlesinger's got, a deceptive delivery. He's kind of done both roles in Miami. How do you envision him sending him out? And then for Major, do you have to kind of wait on his recovery before you guys start to figure out what role he's going to serve?
Yeah, great question. With Rafe, I think, of course, that his first couple years at the U, he was in a bullpen role, sort of transitioned to a starting role this year and kind of took off, right? So I think we don't want to make any decisions about exactly how we'll deploy him. At the same time, when you think about his unique slot pitch profiles, the ability to create different shapes and deception. His fastball velocity took a bump. I think his average fastball velocity went up think like 2 or 3 miles an hour this year, up to 97. So I think, and he's like an unbelievable kid too. We spent a lot of time with him, getting to know him over the years. So I think with him, I think we just want to kind of, see how it goes, right? And, the way, you can use starters and relievers this year. I mean, these days, it's, I think we'd be a little bit short-sighted to try to make a decision on him, just because he can do so many things and he's shown the ability to do both. With someone like Aiden, I think really good point. He's also done both. This year he did some starting in Cape last summer. And then this year was, of course, the Friday night guy for the majority of the time at West Virginia. Has shown ability to hold velocity deep into games. So yeah, I think we'll see what happens. We want to make sure that we're sort of diligent and deliberate with his rehab. And then I think, when someone's coming back from an injury like that, you want to be, number one, deliberate, but also two, think about best ways to build those types of players up. And I think, thinking about him initially, at least thinking about him as a starter, I think is the right thing to do. And then based on how things go, we'll partner with him and figure out what's best for his future. But he's an exciting arm as well.
I guess I'll group these guys together because they're the other two high schoolers here. But what did you guys like about Cameron Sullivan and Chase Mobley?
Yeah, so Cameron is a high school right-handed pitcher from Indiana. Cameron arm speed, big time arm speed, big time spin capacity. He is a kid that we think has a lot of sort of foundational elements to build upon. He can really create spin. I think one of the things that we're looking for is with him is trying to, when we get him in the organization, make sure that we're sort of fine-tuning things, solidifying his delivery, helping him with the shapes he creates to make those a little bit sharper. But again, another kid that we've had a great time getting to know. He went to the MLB combine, did really well there, showing some big velocity. So I think those are the things that sort of stick out about him, and a really good athlete as well in his own right. And then when you talk about Chase Mobley, Chase is, kind of probably coming into the year and into the draft too, one of the more sort of notable or kind of industry kind of names coming into the draft. Really excited about Chase as well. Just a big athletic guy. His fastball has been up to 100. Kind of creates unique angles, has a unique arm action, but another sort of intense competitor. Great kid, great makeup, has sort of undergone some adversity and shown a really good ability to sort of weather that. Developing breaking ball, can create shapes, developing changeup. And just again, a really great competitor, really good kid, high upside, especially with the impact fastball that he has. So two really exciting arms that we're happy to bring in, and good people as well.
I don't want to assume, but obviously, picking these 4 high school arms, you guys all feel like they intend to sign and become pro pitchers.
Yeah, I think so. That our intention is to hopefully bring those guys into the organization.
Paul, what about Favors, the kid from Wichita State?
Yeah, Favors is really interesting pitcher as well. Sort of really nice sort of sum of parts starter profile. Throws a ton of strikes. Really deep mix of pitches. I think he was, one of the nation's leaders in innings pitched. So has shown the ability to sort of just like take the baseball, right? And when it's his turn, going to go out there and compete really well. So I'm really excited about him as well, and to bring him in the fold. But control, command, deep mix of pitches, strike throwing. those types of things what stand out about him.
When you take guys now, I mean, you have a pretty good idea that you're going to sign them, right? I mean, and if there's a question, you probably don't draft them, right?
Yeah, I think honestly, Paul, I think it depends. I think in most cases, in most scenarios, especially in this day and age with you know, with the way the draft works and the rules surrounding the draft and slots and we think about bonus pools and how you have to utilize those pools. I think for the most part, when we're taking players where our intention is to sign them. Of course, there are cases that we don't sign every player that we draft, but I think in general, I think our intention is to sign the players that we've selected in the draft thus far.
Does the size of your bonus pool this year, has that helped you take more I mean, not college kids, but high school kids and like the high school pitchers today?
Yeah, I think so. I think it's no secret that coming into this draft, of course we had the number one pick, but with that, we also had an additional pick there, right? So kind of coming into the draft, having a pretty big bonus pool. So I think the goal with that is to just make sure that we're maximizing that and trying to bring in the best complement of players in the organization. So I think that's one of our goals too, is to make sure that we're maximizing the pool space and maximizing the dollars to the best of our ability.
I was kind of curious with Mobley in the 10th. It's reminiscent of Jacobs had been a few years ago. I think it was also 17 at the time. Is it kind of a round where you can set up like easier to get more security early and to have someone float down with a good value there, specifically more of that prep high ceiling type?
Yeah, I think, every year the draft, you just don't know how it's going to go, right? I think, every year there are a lot of kids, a lot of players that come into the draft with expectations, and as the draft goes, right, there are 30 teams, so you have a finite amount of picks and a finite amount of rounds and places that people can go, and sometimes as it goes, sometimes it just doesn't go as people might plan, and so we have to maintain sort of this openness to be creative in different places in the draft, and so. I think when you think about Chase again, 10th round, I think our intention, our hope is to bring him into the organization. And again, another player that we're excited, but I think to your point, I think we just want to make sure that we're maximizing everything to the best of our ability and bringing the best complement of players into the organization.
Just as a quick follow-up. So does that mean like with these players, if there is fluidity on draft day, that you might have things change if things maybe go a little disappointing for a player?
Yeah, I mean, I think fluid is probably, that's probably the best word you can use to describe the draft. And I think, tomorrow we've got 11 to 20. And so I think, we're on the phone, working the phones, right now, trying to figure out how to continue to maximize every dollar.
Being advantageous today with those high school arms, how do you guys feel like you are set up for tomorrow?
Yeah, great question. I think the sort of goal or strategy won't really change. I think when you think about the 11 to 20, we still think there are good players out there. We still think there are major league players that we can bring into the organization that could help us win. So I think the first 10 rounds, you sort of have to kind of regroup, pick up the pieces, see what's left, see who's still on the board, check with players and try to understand what their interests and motivations are now that we're 2 days into this. And then you kind of try to put the pieces back together and see what we can do. But I think we have a lot of sort of we feel good about our ability to continue to try to add good players even on day 3. So we're excited.
Okay,
Anything else? Awesome.
thank you.
Thanks, Paul.
Thank you.